Hey, and good morning. Welcome to News and Views, an alternative viewpoint on today's news and current events. I'm Sean Thomas, in studio today with good friend and co-host Ray Allen and our tech guru, Ken Garner. First of all, I hope you folks had a happy Thanksgiving and you had a good time with your families and all, and like all of us, ate too much turkey, I'm sure.
That's one thing you can't do is OD on turkey with the tryptophan, whatever's in there. You'll go to sleep before you eat too much.
I have a waitress friend at the restaurant this morning told me she went to 4 different dinners and had 4 full turkey meals. Needless to say, she's burned out on turkey.
And I bet you she's a lightweight because the lightweight girls could eat all day long.
Right, first thing I want to touch on today, we've been talking about prominent families and their unduly influence in American politics and American culture. I was going to talk about the Rothschilds today, but one of the guys who's very prominent as far as coming from a prominent, wealthy family who had an unduly influence on politics in America passed away this weekend. That, of course, would be George Herbert Walker Bush, our 41st president. He's coming across in the media as kind, jolly, great old guy, kind of combination of Santa Claus and Easter Bunny. But if you look at George Bush's past, this guy, I recommend highly you look at what some of the CIA agents who worked with him back in the 70s and 80s, when he's director of the CIA, had to say about George Bush. The guy was extremely violent, according to them. He corrupt. He's the one that supervised the operations in Arkansas. They were running drugs, children, money, everything else through Mena, Arkansas, when, of course, Bill Clinton was Attorney General and Governor of Arkansas. And isn't it interesting? The two guys who perpetuate all this on the American public, and by the way, the CIA, I have no problems with them going after bad actors in foreign countries, which is what they're supposed to do. I have a major problem with them running traffic, sex trafficking, guns, money, and children inside the United States, which is exactly what they were doing back then, and it's well documented. And isn't it interesting that the two guys who perpetuated this on the American public ended up running against each other for president? That was their choice for president when Bill Clinton was elected, barely beating George Bush.
So basically it was a race to hell for us.
Well, there you go, yeah. So anyway, but the Bush family, of course, very prominent in American politics. George Bush, who passed away, was our 41st president. His son, George W. Bush, was our 43rd president. And if Donald Trump hadn't put a stop to this nonsense, Jeb Bush might have been our 45th president.
You know, Sean, what most of these 16 politicians that were running as a Republican candidate for president, they don't want to acknowledge or understand, especially Kasich. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, none of the Republicans would not be in office right now. Not one of them could have beat Hillary Clinton and everything that she's done to sway her presentation to the country.
Exactly. And the amazing thing to me was not only did Trump beat the 16 people running against him, he also beat the American media, he beat Hollywood, he beat academia, including many prominent Republicans to this day are still never Trumpers.
Such as Jeff Flake. Would that be one?
Exactly. Flake, of course, notorious now. He said that because the Republicans won't pass legislation protecting Robert Mueller, that Flake is going to hold back. He's the swing vote on getting Trump's judges nominated and serving, and apparently he stopped some of them this past week.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody, this. No way in hell should the Senate or Congress make any type of, or impose any type of law that Mueller could not possibly be dismissed, which he should have been dismissed from week 1 when he started to diss the Judiciary Oversight Committee on this special counsel. Mueller, when you look into his background, does not stand for integrity in his case. And the 4 men he put in prison, 2 died in prison. The United States of America paid $105 million out because of his malpractice, I would say.
Oh, back during the Whitey Bulger case.
Whitey Bulger.
Who was killed in prison recently.
Just passed away. You wonder who did that, eh? And so anyways, we have a new interim DOJ head. We'll see what happens there. He looks like he's a guy that is going to take care of business. And Jeff Sessions is a great guy. I know that. However, and he does a lot behind the scenes, like you have mentioned to me, that nobody hears about. Well, not everything can be put on Fox News, even though Fox News is not 100% conservative. And by the way, I have something to mention about conservatism that I heard this week. It's very interesting, so stay tuned to that as well.
Yeah, behind the scenes, Sessions especially was very good at going after sex traffickers. As a matter of fact, the first year Trump was in office, they prosecuted 10 times as many as Obama did in any year he was in, and the percentage is even higher right now. Whitaker is the guy you're talking about, who's taken over as the acting Attorney General. It's interesting, a lot of Republicans are calling out for Trump to replace him with a permanent Attorney General. I don't know, it looks to me like Whitaker, as we've said in the past, Ray, the people who the media protest the most against, the people who Hollywood don't like, the people who Rhino Republicans can't stand, those are the people I want serving with Donald Trump, because those are the people that get under their skin, and it's obvious that they're doing things that these people are reacting to.
And on the other hand, the reciprocal would be the people that they advocate, such as Robert Mueller, and the mass conflict of interest between Comey, McCabe, Page, Strzok, everyone in those high-level positions that have actually conjured up most of what's going on.
Exactly.
For obstruction.
This is the deep state that Trump constantly refers to. These are the people that have embedded themselves in American politics. They're trying to run our country behind the scenes, and they're trying to overturn an election of a president back in 2016 who was put in office by the people. They're trying to overturn our votes. For one, I want to start seeing charges brought up against them for acting against the wishes of this country. Treason.
Well, everything's in motion, and we'll see what happens. It's difficult to predict everything because as new timelines come up, all of a sudden Mueller comes up with new evidence, or with new charges, with Cohen, with Manafort. All of a sudden, he's trying to expand on these charges. And what about, Sean, what about the people who Mueller is getting to try to lie on behalf of, for his best interest, to convict or to get President Trump into this, so there is a collusion and obstruction?
Well, it's obvious they had nothing on Trump, because if they did, they would have leaked it by now. So what they're doing, they're setting up perjury traps. The very reason people didn't want Rudy Giuliani and people that work with Trump didn't want him going before Mueller and testifying was because they would set a perjury trap for him, which is what they're doing for the witnesses. For example, if a witness is brought up and they get this computer and they go back 3 or 4 years and they find something, they find an email or something that they don't tell them about. They bring him in under oath. They question him about that email, and if somebody testifies they don't remember the email, or if they say it in a slightly different way, they say, they're accused of perjury. Or if 2 witnesses are brought up, one says one thing, one says something else slightly different, then you can charge. They have the option of charging those persons with lying and with perjury because his testimony didn't jive with the other person's testimony, and the independent counsel makes that decision. Well, President Trump, he did answer some questions, and you notice as soon as these were written answers, as soon as they were given to Mueller, all of a sudden new charges want to come up, such as Cohen. So we'll see how this pans out. But the president, he needs to be on the top of his game. And again, like I said, he does not, he does not have a friend on the Democrat side, and a few of the Republicans, I don't believe, are looking out for his best interest either. Yeah, I believe that we're at the point now where this is kill or be killed, and Trump has got to take these people. He's got to chop them off at the knees, because now I know for a fact that Huber, he appointed from the FBI to look into Hillary's foundation and a couple of the other things, is supposed to come up with a report on December the 5th. I'm looking very forward to seeing that. And also Whitaker is working behind the scenes. He's actually taken over control of the Mueller investigation as much as he can, which is of course why the Democrats and the media are screaming so much, because they want Mueller to be protected from Whitaker, even though as acting attorney general, it's his responsibility to oversee the operation. They would rather keep it in the hands of Rod Rosenstein, who I think is on the way out. But I think in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see some very interesting developments about what's been going on behind the scenes. The grand jury's been in a panel in Arkansas looking to Hillary's foundation. They're bringing up the email thing all over again, and I think that's why you're seeing media types and Democrats getting so upset about the way things are going right now.
Thanks, John.
Now, getting back real quick, wrapping up here, getting back to George Bush. If you want to do a little research on George Bush that you're not going to read in the papers, look up online what people who worked with him, CIA agents during the 70s and 80s, had to say about George Bush. And also look up the very interesting video of George Bush the night Donald Trump was elected, giving the sign, the knife sign across his throat, which is prominent on videos also, which will tell you all you need to know about George Herbert Walker Bush.